Before we start tonight's program, a brief reminder that this episode will address multiple sclerosis, anxiety, and depression, which may be sensitive to some of our viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. We remind you to contact your doctor, mental health professional, your outreach group, your sponsor or specialist before adopting any change to your dietary, physical, and or mental health regime. If you're looking for options to go down with respect to mental health, contact SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, at 1 800 662 4357. Again, that's 1 800 662 4357. The service is open 24/7, 365 days a year, and is a confidential free information service for individuals and family members facing such stressors. Also, if you're feeling suicidal crisis or emotional distress and need to be put in touch with a crisis center, call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1 800 273 TALK. That's 1 800 273 8255. Or go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. You can also text the word HOME to 741 741. Those resources are also available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Also, the National MS Society is a collective of passionate individuals who want to do something about MS now, to move together forward free of multiple sclerosis. MS stops people from moving, but the National MS Society exists to make sure that MS doesn't. To contact the National MS Society, please contact 1 800 344 4867. Again, that's 1 800 344 4867, or go to their website at nationalmssociety.org. And on that, let's begin. The connection between depression, anxiety, and the roadblocks that I removed, I'm still working to remove over the last 2 years, is a very strong correlation. I'm going to start shedding some light on that tonight. I'll also give an update on where I am with the multiple sclerosis diagnosis and to go forward from there. This is the Venture Forward. Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be, and welcome. I am John Venturini, and I am a recovering addict of overeating, alcoholism, and compulsive gambling. And it's wonderful to see you this Tuesday night / Wednesday morning, wherever you are, for another episode of The Venture Forward. This story about depression is something that has been really a chronicle to talk to, not outside of the personal events that have been going on in my life, but it's something that I really truly think has been an issue, without question. When we talk about depression, as we did last week, it's something that can be traced to one's heredity, can be traced to one's surroundings could be traced to a whole series of biobehavioral sort of events. In the last 4 episodes, we talked about exactly what would be the precipice for that. We talked about what exactly are the ways to figure out if you have depression or anxiety. Tonight, we're going to draw the correlation between depression and social anxiety. I have a guest that will help talk to that from her perspective. I'll also give you a couple of updates with the MS as well. But before we do that, I want to say hi to you guys, and ladies and gentlemen and the fine people on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. Matt, good evening. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Elo, what's up to you as well? Leah, hola, ¿cómo estás ustedes? Sarah, hi, how are you? And Jamie, hi. Hope you're doing well. Hope all of you are doing well. So an update, because quite frankly, that is one of the chief things that have been going through my mind in the last 5-6 weeks. So I want to at least talk to that for a second. I went to the doctor today and I started some vaccine shots. Not the vaccine, but vaccine shots. Apparently my lab results came back low or non-existent for things like hepatitis B and also chickenpox. Yeah, apparently your friend over here never had chickenpox. Who knew? So that is the step in the sort of direction that, hey, this is something where I really need to take care of that, because if I'm going to go on any of the advanced MS drugs that they are doing trials for, Ocrevus is being one of them, I really need to make sure I am up to date with my immunization so I don't have anything that basically compromises my immunity, especially if I'm going to go into a high-powered medication like Ocrevus. As far as tests are concerned, I have 2 MRIs scheduled for tomorrow. They're going to do my basically my neck area, so basically one of the cusps of the CNS, but also my spinal column, and it's going to be frontal in both sides. And then on Thursday, I got a MRI on a 7 Tesla machine, a 17 machine over in Philly to do a full central nervous system scan of what's going on over here. The thing is, as evident from what happened 2 weeks ago when I had the MRI done, they saw new lesions, different coloration of the new lesions versus the old lesions. So the old lesions are still there. There's no remyelination or whatnot, but there is new myelination there. So they want to figure out exactly what's going on. There's really no way to try to start taking care of this unless there is a plan of attack to do that. So that's where we are. I have to put out an open thank you to the fine folks at Penn Medicine and Lancaster General, because they have helped me immensely in all of this. Not to say that I didn't have that same level of care when it was demyelination 10 years ago. I did. But the fact that given all the hubbub that's going on in the last 2 years, I'm not going to say the word because, hey, someone doesn't want to be demonetized. I am glad that they are able to help me and help me try to figure this out. Moreover, I got a very, very great neurologist over there who is looking to figure out what the heck this is. So, before we go to the whole anxiety, depression thing, a couple more comments popped up. Jamie says, the first lecture in my neuro class was about MS. You know, I can almost rest assured that if the lecture was 10 years ago, it would be somewhat different than what you're hearing now. And that's because the amount of strides that have been made in MS have been incredible. And they're learning more and more each and every day. I also will say that because of all the work that's been done in the last year for something else that I cannot talk about, demonetization, they have been finding little inklets to what MS could be as far as a lesion CNS sort of perspective. We talked about it briefly a week ago, 2 weeks ago, about that of a remyelination sort of supplements, remyelination sort of prescriptions, remyelination drugs. They're working down that road, and the more we keep on working down, it's becoming more and more something where we will find something. Before I go to the rest of the comments, I got an email this morning that the National MS Society is doing their fundraising now. So if you go to that website again, I'll bring it up real quick. And you know someone who's doing a walk, virtual or whatnot, this is the time to do it. 1-800-344-4867, nationalmssociety.org. My friend whose daughter has MS sent me an email this morning about it, and I hope to have her on in the next week or two because she has an incredible story, and I'm looking forward to that for sure. Couple more comments, and then we'll get to our guest. Sarah says, that's great that you never had chickenpox. Yeah, I don't know how the heck that happened. I know I had mono, but I never had chickenpox apparently. So, yeah. Jamie also says, I have never had chickenpox either. Glad you're getting up to date with that stuff. Yeah. And the fact that there is a shot and a booster that is there for it, it's something that they want me to take care of before I can go on to any sort of course of medication, whether it's Ocrevus or other. Jamie says, good luck with your MRIs. Thank you, Jamie. And Leah says, thinking of you always on your journey. Leah, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to unmute my guest because she is not video enabled. So let's see if this works. And if not, then I might have to do this real quick. Hang on 1 second. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Please stand by. We might have to do that very thing. If the guest can just point the camera away real quick, I'll get her on. Okay, and then I will kill that as well. There we go. And then if the guests can also unmute themselves.
Hello.
JD, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, JD is here to talk about depression
Hello,
and anxiety.
everyone.
Yep. How are you tonight?
I'm doing quite well. How are you?
You know, it's always a situation where it's, as I've been telling many people, both live streaming and also in the recovery groups, progress, not perfection. Well, we're definitely talking progress, not perfection.
Right.
So I just got your graphic up there too.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Looks official. I like it.
Yeah, we try to be official around here.
Mm-hmm.
So anxiety is something that, you know, in the spirit of full disclosure, JD and I have known each other for a long time. So JD can attest to
Yes.
how much anxiety has been a part of my life. But I always thought that the sort of markers that there are to anxiety were always individualistic. And when we started talking, I was surprised in what you're experiencing. So I thought no better person to help talk to the story than you, JD. So,
Right.
and that social anxiety. So to everybody that's watching and to me, what is social anxiety to you from a definition perspective?
I think, a lot of people think of it as, oh, that person just shy or, won't come out of his or her home. I think just from my experiences for the past, I'd say probably 15 years or so, I would say that it's more than just being shy. Yeah, that's part of it. But, you are afraid of hurting someone's feelings or you're afraid of offending somebody. You're afraid to walk into a room full of people, whether it's a party or some kind of social gathering, or even the doctor's office. Just
Mm.
giving a kind of a mundane example. You're afraid to do that for fear of being judged. Oh, look at her, what is she doing? That type of thing. It is a fear of, for me personally, of public speaking.
Mm.
Not to a room full of people, but maybe at a meeting, when you have to give a presentation. Um, it's a fear of being embarrassed,
Right.
doing something wrong, failing in front of others. So that's how I would describe social anxiety, at least for me.
It's very spot on because it's something where those sort of facets of the social anxiety is something I've been dealing with for a very long time as well. I think, I'm curious on your answer to this, but when did you start noticing that you had uh, a very acute case of social anxiety, if you will?
I would say, I think it definitely got worse as I got older, which maybe, might be the reverse. Oh, as you get older, you might feel more comfortable with yourself and whatnot. Um, but I've been anxious, I guess, for as long as I can remember. I was officially diagnosed with generalized anxiety back in, I want to say 2009 or 2010.
Mm.
Um, the social anxiety piece, I really started to notice it, I would say, probably when I was in my 30s,
Mm.
early 30s, and I'm 41 now. So definitely more noticeable, more aware of it as I've gotten older. And
Yeah, I
probably, mhm.
it's funny you mention that because there's that sort of question about, hey, it's something that you have it when you're young and then you grow out of it when you get older. But I know for me, and it could have something to do with a lot of the health issues I've been going through with the last 10 years. Certainly, there's a tie-in between demyelination and multiple sclerosis, and also the way you handle things from a CNS sort of perspective. I notice it just gets worse over time. So, I mean, it's a sort of
Right.
thing where I think age can either manifest it one way or another, for sure.
Absolutely.
Are there any
You know,
specific sort of events that kind of drive out the GAD or the SAD rather, and moreover to
mhm.
social anxiety?
I would say anything where I have to present myself to people I don't know very well.
Mm.
So any kind of social gathering, any kind of party or maybe work function,
Mm-hmm.
um, where, I kind of have to put myself out there, so to speak.
Okay.
Um, so anything, and even also, I would say, even if I know people, or, if I'm acquaintances with these people, if we're gathering, I will still feel anxious because, again, what if I have to make small talk, or, what if I'm, excuse me, being judged, that type
Mm-hmm.
of thing.
I mean, from your perspective, is it the sort of thing where you have the social anxiety, that that lingers, and moreover, if it's a question of what your sort of personality is in the professional realm versus that of the social realm, do you find
Hmm.
that it's different, and moreover, what sort of barriers do you jump over to get through that?
It's, I would say, mm, they're similar in that, at work, if I'm presenting or running a meeting, or that type of thing, I do have that initial anxiety. where, okay, I know my coworkers, but am I going to fail? Are the outside parties going to think badly of me because I'm not prepared or whatnot? And then socially, again, if of course, if I don't know a group of people, I'm going to, feel even more so anxious and dread making small talk. If I do know um, the people there, but just more so as acquaintances, again, it's still a struggle
Mm.
because, of course, just being comfortable and fitting in, and the small talk doesn't come easily to me, and that banter. So I tend to kind of just get withdrawn in that case too.
So you have basically a generalized loss of connection, I guess.
Right.
Got it.
Perfect way to describe it. Yep.
Couple questions in the comments. Sarah asks, or Sarah says, it makes sense that someone with social anxiety would self-medicate with alcohol, which acts as a disinhibitor.
Right.
Yeah, and
So,
I go. Sorry, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. Say what you want to
No,
say.
it's just it makes things challenging when you look at
Mhm.
what sort of things that are in your way, and then you say, oh well, it might be something that is soothing, but what's your take on that comment?
I would agree because I haven't had any substance abuse issues. However, I will say that alcohol definitely um, you know makes me feel more comfortable, and at times I have overdone it, especially when I was, in my 20s and early 30s, kind of coming aware of all of this. And I have overdone it to try to feel more comfortable, only to, after the fact, feel ashamed, and why did I need to do that? Now I feel like crap, the next day. Surprisingly, it never became an issue or an addiction for me, but I think I'm more aware now that I do avoid social gatherings to avoid self medicating with alcohol. That
Hmm.
makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. A couple more questions
Mhm.
popped up. Or Jamie says, "Yeah, I used alcohol to relieve my social anxiety."
It's very easy to do that, just oh, okay, I'll have a shot, and and then it becomes two, and then you start to feel this pseudo sense of confidence in those types of situations.
Sort of that, I guess, false bravado would be the term.
Right. Yep.
Sarah asks, JD, how is it for you doing this interview?
You know what? It's pretty good, I have to say. You know, I am always anxious of, being on camera. And then because of, professional reasons also, I said I will, you know, call in. Um, but I don't mind talking about it because I would like to share my story and help others if I can in any way. And I welcome your questions and comments. So, doing well right now. So, thank you.
Jen, I really appreciate you doing this because if there was anyone that has a
Absolutely.
particular story to this or a particular spin on it, it's definitely you. So I'm really glad you're doing the program tonight.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank
Leah
you for
says,
having
my
me.
daughter, who is 13, has social anxiety. I never know how much to push her to socialize or shelter her. She won't do any
Mhm.
activities that require peer interaction. She panics.
Okay. Is she seeing a therapist or counselor?
Yeah, I would say. And I was going to ask you that question as far as from your from a
Hmm.
sense of your social anxiety, from the social anxiety you feel. Is there what sort of what sort of what is your sort of strategy when you go, if you go see a therapist or whatnot? How do you portray that?
The last time I saw a therapist, I want to say it was 2013, and she recommended CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy. And she gave me some handouts and strategies in terms of turning my thinking around.
Hmm.
And I want to say that I did not follow through as well as I wanted to with that. I did try out some of the strategies and then kind of said, okay, well, you know what? I'm too busy for this or what have you, and pushed it by the wayside. But, um, there were definitely times I wish that I had followed through a little bit more closely um, with those strategies, because it takes a while. It does not happen overnight, but it's just training your mind to change your thinking from positive to negative. Well, okay, this is going to happen, but what if something really great happens? So you really have to train your mind to take on, a different train of thought from negative to positive. So,
Yeah.
and
Sa-
13 is a hard age too. That's tough.
Sarah says it's never too late, and then Leah says she is.
She is.
So
Okay,
she's
good.
yeah.
I think the social activities, those are going to take time. I think the therapist can help with that, whatever strategy or method she's using with her. Um, I think not forcing, but just encouraging, and then starting out small, maybe with one friend rather than a whole group, on some kind of social outing. And these days, too, there's not a whole lot of opportunity because of, the pandemic and everything as well. So it makes it harder. But I would just say starting off small and going from there, maybe doing something virtually and then branching out to maybe more in person so she feels comfortable.
Hmm. How how important is meditation and journaling with respect to the anxiety?
I think that it definitely clears your mind and makes you think more clearly, especially meditation. I haven't journaled as often as I have liked, um, but definitely the meditation, because you kind of calm your mind. You're not, your mind isn't going into 75 different directions, but you can focus. And also, I would say exercise helps as well a lot.
So basically,
But
that sort of endorphin building sort of exercise.
right, because when, at least when I do that, again, it's the focus. You're not focusing on, oh, this person thinks I'm, stupid, or a bad speaker or whatnot, and you're kind of pushing that to the wayside for 30 minutes or an hour or what have you as well.
Um, quick comment from Jamie. She says exercise is the most underused antidepressant. I feel like.
It's true. Absolutely. And I think it's almost like if you're addicted in a positive way, but addicted to, a drug, where if you don't do it, then you don't feel yourself. Of
Hmm.
course, get into the over training and all that, which isn't good either, but it's, definitely cathartic.
It's the sort of thing where we talked about how important the journaling and meditation story was as far back as the first episode or two
Right.
when we started talking about the weight loss journey and everything. I think without that, I don't have a way to kind of get those thoughts on paper and fully acclimate myself to what's going on.
Absolutely.
I guess the other question that comes to mind, and there is a clear delimiter between depression and anxiety. I wanted to show that graphic real quick, see if I can get that up. So, in the middle of depression and anxiety, this, by the way, is from the mentalhealthmatters.com. Incredible Venn diagram. I appreciate it. But we talk about restlessness, excessive worrying, and agitation being a common set between depression and anxiety. But then you see one side of the Venn in that of anxiety and the trembling and the sweating and the high heart rate versus the depression side with the tiredness and the thoughts of suicide, etc. From the cases of anxiety that you see, is anxiety usually something that is geared towards, so I guess my question is, even though it comes from a do you see the sort of value in the anxiety side of the Venn versus the depression side of the Venn?
Yeah, I'm just looking at that graphic now, and I that's really on point. Definitely, those two types are comorbid with each other. I mean, I can tell you the symptoms that I experience um, on a daily basis, and they're on both sides, as well as in the middle. But um, I think my experience has been more of the anxiety, but you
Mm.
definitely, experience those symptoms of depression as well because oh, I can't go to this event and I have to miss another one. And then your partner might get frustrated, and rightly so. Then you tend to feel, or I tend to feel, sad, upset, just sometimes apathetic. I just kind of want to push it out of my mind. So definitely there's the comorbidity of those symptoms there.
Try saying that 5 times fast. I can guarantee you I can't. Comorbidity,
No,
yeah, no, there's no chance of that
comorbidity.
happening.
It's a
It's not happening.
multisyllabic word. Yeah.
I got the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. Sarah says, if I can get this up on screen, she says, JD, if you're familiar with the book I Thought It Was Just Me, but It Isn't by Brene Brown, how do you see it in terms of social anxiety?
I will have to check that out. I'm not familiar with that, but thank you for the recommendation.
It's a very good
I think
recommendation, Sarah. Thank you.
absolutely. I think it's different for everybody. It's very there are common symptoms, but I think it's also very individualized, depending on the person's experiences and their environment.
Hmm. I think we are basically the summary of the people, places, and events and things that are around us.
Absolutely.
Especially, if not to go back there for a second, but when your frame is weak to begin with, and
Hmm.
you're doing the most horrible things to yourself, yeah, your frame is absolutely not there, and then anything becomes, I guess, fair game. And it's amazing how we will drive ourselves down the wrong road.
Right. Yeah.
There
And
was
I mean, go ahead.
no, I was go finish that thought, and I just wanted to show one more graphic.
I was just going to say, so with the addiction piece that plays into it again, and honestly, I have not had a problem with drug addiction or alcohol addiction. You know, I think it just got to the point with alcohol anyway, and sometimes food as well, to the point where
Mm.
I said, okay, you know what, you got to stop. That's enough. So it never got to where it impacted my daily functioning, but I was aware um, where I was going over, or going sort of to the dark place, if you will.
Yeah, It is a very dark place, and
Hmm.
and the thing is, if we don't know exactly what we're doing to ourselves, it could be such
Right.
a hard sort of thing to go
Absolutely.
over. Um, I will share this in the most vague sort of manner, but JD and I have known each other a long time, and she knows the up down up down up down with me, and she could tell you firsthand exactly what was going on that kind of caused that one direction or another. So it's proof positive of that, but so many people go through that, JD. It's not even funny.
Hmm. Right.
Paul says, Jamie, good point. That helps me so much. It goes back to the exercise point. Yeah, exercise is a major sort of endorphin builder and sort of an antidepressant for sure. And good to see you
Hmm.
tonight, Paul, by the way. I guess the other graphic I wanted to show you real quick was this, in the sense that there's that. So this was done by
Hmm.
a Twitter profile called "What Is Mental Illness," and it's basically the difference between what people think social anxiety is, and then what
Right.
social anxiety actually is. So you can see the people thought version of social anxiety up top. It's very simple in the sense that, well, you're either being shy or you have a fear of public speaking. But whereas where social anxiety actually is, being judged by others in social situations, having a fear of accidentally offending someone, fear of being the center of attention, and also fear of being embarrassed or humiliated and showing it by blushing, sweating, or shaking. Kind of akin to what you were talking to before, no?
Right. Yes, definitely. Like I said, it's, individualized for the person, but, you know, I think those common feelings, symptoms, whatever you want to call them, it's, social is part of that. So, you are in fear of what others think, basically, if I had to sum that up. And then you're going to, be in fear of how that makes you feel, and then you have to deal with that afterward.
Right. I think you summed that up perfectly, JD. Thank you.
Welcome.
Paul says, I have to throw this comment in there. All these slides, all of a sudden, I want banana cream pie. You know what, Paul? Me too. That sounds absolutely delightful.
Does sound good.
Sue asks, do you think it starts as young in grade school, and does our education system recognize it and help?
I think I know for me, I was always kind of a shy, quiet kid. Definitely in elementary school. Um, I didn't receive any kind of counseling. Um, I, well, okay, I take that back. When I was very young, like 5 years old, 7 years old, I did see a therapist, and that was for some, sibling rivalry stuff going on,
Mm-hmm.
at home. It wasn't part of the school system, that was outside. Um, but I would say it depends on where you are, what school system you're in. I do think that if the teacher, other adults that work with the student recognize, those classic symptoms, if you will, they might make a referral to the counselor or school based health, or an outside agency, for that student. Unfortunately, sometimes those students will fall through the cracks. As awful as that is, I think it just depends on time and resources,
Right.
from experience. But hopefully the teacher and the adults working with the student would recognize that and speak to the parents or guardian, and help the student by making a referral.
Sarah had a comment for Sue in the sense that because we live in a shame based culture,
Right.
resilience skills aren't taught in most schools.
Right. I think now, and just personal experience with this, there are programs. I think because of the pandemic, which has brought on the need for social emotional learning. There are programs that are starting to be implemented in schools to help students deal with their feelings and to stand up against bullying and to recognize, what is inappropriate behavior, you know, from adults, for example, and to learn those resilience skills. So we definitely need more of that in schools because, uh, you know, it's not just about academics, reading, writing, math, but, kids have to be taught how to deal with feelings of anger, frustration, or disappointment, and all of that.
Jamie says, I have social anxiety until I'm comfortable with people, and even after I still get anxious from time to time, it's not always predictable.
I would totally agree with that. Absolutely. You could, be with someone that you've known for a long time, and then you could be having a cup of coffee and, think, okay, well, now what are we going to talk about? Or did I say something wrong? Or, you know, that type of thing.
Right.
Absolutely.
Aubrey, good to see you this morning over by you. He's saying, so I'm learning what to say on how to say it without offending people, but sorry, but I am impatient walking on eggshells watching what I say.
I I would agree with that too. If it's somebody other than a family member or someone I know really, really, really well, I feel the same way in terms of can I say this? Should I not say that? Should I phrase this differently?
Mhm. Aubrey continues and says, that gives me anxiety by watching what I say. When I have something to say and trying not to offend people.
Right. And I've been there as well, and most of the time I end up not saying anything, which usually gives me more anxiety because then it looks like, oh, that's the quiet person, um,
Right.
at the dinner table or on the Zoom or whatever.
And then one other comment he has is, I want to make lives, but I come across hardcore. So I guess it's the sort of temperament and cadence and volume
Right.
of message.
Right.
Okay.
Because you could present yourself differently from who you really are, and you put on the persona of hardcore and not sensitive or um, you know just somebody different from who you are, but in actuality you're just feeling very anxious because you don't want to say the wrong thing or offend people.
Right. That makes sense. Jamie had another comment, and she says, "Yes, JD, I also don't say anything ultimately, haha."
Yeah, and that's why I tend to avoid a lot of social situations. I have to say, with this pandemic, as bad as this sounds, in some ways it's been a blessing because you can't get together with large groups of people. Um, so, and I usually will be the quiet one, not knowing how to contribute to the conversation or not wanting to appear, you know, dumb or stupid with, the topic that is being talked about if I'm not very well versed in that topic.
Hmm. I guess the thing is, I feel myself doing that a lot too. Doesn't matter what the realm is, what sort of thing we're talking about. I don't know. I gotta be honest with you, JD. I don't know how I overcame that over time. I think it's something that maybe I was kind of put in that position by my quote unquote 9 to 5 and all of that. I have no idea, but it takes a lot of work to try to get over that.
Absolutely. It's exhausting.
Yeah. I guess any final thoughts about how anxiety and how you're treating the social anxiety, but moreover, what is the way you've gone forward from all of this?
Sure. So I would say every day is a new day. It's a learning process, it's a journey. Um, Usually, if something in a social situation does go awry, I, you know, try to learn from it, and I will say, okay, what can I do differently next time? Um, I am taking medication for this. I think that it does help. And other than that, I try to exercise, make time to clear my mind, um, talk about it with people whom I feel comfortable with. And it's just a learning process every day. It's not going to cure itself overnight or if ever. Um, but when things do go back to somewhat normal, when we can gather together again, you know, I I think I would like to be more adventurous, and I know that um, it can frustrate other people, especially if you're in a relationship. And I have a very supportive partner that I've been with for a long time. Um, However, I think I would just like to grow from this and move forward the best way that I can, and just a little bit at a time.
I think, quite honestly, JD, that's indicative of 6 billion people, isn't it? I mean, we
Right.
talk about we talked about it in kind of like in quick spurts, but the thing that has transpired the last year and change has changed everybody's mo, and you know it doesn't help by any stretch of the imagination to be in that sort of confined sort of nature to by dealing with all these sort of new realities, new normals, all that stuff.
Right.
I also and not the topic change for a second, but I also look at what has transpired as a chance for many people to have that moment to say, you know what, I gotta fix this. All right, you know what, this is something I wanted to take up. This is something I wanted to go explore. This is something I needed to go out and try to get.
Hmm.
As much as it's been daunting and antisocial as it is. Sue says, "Thank you for sharing. I always appreciate the things I learn here." Sue, I'm glad you joined us tonight for sure.
Yeah. Glad to share. Thank you.
And quite frankly, everybody who on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, I'm glad you join us each and every Tuesday,
Absolutely.
Thursday, and Friday. Um, I'm debating whether or not. You know, I'm not going to put that graphic up. It was a comment Paul made, but if you have a chance to go see on YouTube, he's I'm just gonna do it. It's fine. Socially anxious people are probably spreading rumors that the vaccine doesn't work. We should probably all just stay away from another year to be safe. Oh man! And of course, JB says, "Stop telling our secret." Everybody's thinking it. Everybody's definitely thinking it. Man, oh man.
Yeah, maybe we all want to wait to get it.
Yeah. JD, I kind of said this on one of the first episodes, but the people that come into our lives end up being more family than anyone else. For as long as I've known you, JD, you are definitely part of my family. I am so honored and blessed to have you in my life, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. And I feel the same. I mean, we've known each other how many years now?
Oh, God, it's got to be bordering upon
20,
20 now.
21 maybe?
21. It's 21.
Yeah,
Where did the time go?
been a long time.
Oh, man. JD, it's an honor, and I adore your friendship. I adore you, and you know I say this from the most familial place because we're both Italian, but I love you. Thank you, JD. I appreciate it.
Love you too, John. Thank you for having me, and I'm glad to share and help in any way that I can. Thank you for having me on.
Anytime, JD. You have a great night. Stay safe.
You too. Thank you, everyone.
JD, ladies and gentlemen, if I go back to the main graphic over here, it's amazing how many people we hold on to because they're more our family than actual family. And you know, JD is definitely the quintessential example of that, and I was really honored and pleased for JD to tell her story tonight, for sure. um Before we call it a night and before we put a giant bow on it, let's talk about what we're doing on Thursday. Thursday, we're going to go back to the beginning. We're going to talk about what weight loss has meant to this entire journey. And moreover, you know, exactly what needs to happen to make sure that the remnants of the past don't happen again. And I really look forward to having that talk with all of you on Thursday to talk about that, in, you know, with respect as well to the events of the last 5-6 weeks, you know, because that definitely personifies it to another level. So it'll be a very interesting conversation. I'm looking forward to having that on Thursday night, episode 2.5 at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Some final comments. Jamie says, thanks to JD. Thank you, JB. Thank you, Jamie, for joining us. Thank all of you for joining us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. It truly is our chosen family. Chosen. Sarah said, I wouldn't have made it without chosen family. Sarah, you're definitely part of the chosen family. It might have taken us until recently to realize that we are chosen family, but it's an honor and pleasure to have you in this family too, and I'm glad you're here tonight. And Sue says, thank you, JV. So on that, I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell you at the end of every single Venture Forward, every single VF Talks. Stay safe, stay sane, stay strong, stay sober. You're worth it. I will see you Thursday night at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific for a talk, again, on weight loss and what that has meant to the entire journey. Have a great night.